Hi everyone, I'm Monique and I'm back with a new layout guest designing for Bramble Fox. I'm going to create this fun layout using a variety of perspectives. I'm not 100% sure at this point which ones I'm going to be using, but I've got them all there ready waiting for me to begin. For this layout I've used quite a bit of the Sun-Kissed collection from Simple Stories, and I'm starting off by doing a little bit of mixed media on my background. So I've pre-prepped my cardstock with some clear gesso. I also have two shades of Shimmer's Vibes. I have Jenny B Blue and Seize the Day along with a blue Ecoline ink, and using a bit of water just to help that paint move about the page. I'm just adding the colour to the background and swirling it about to create a lovely bright blue sky. And here I am coming in with that blue ink, which I add a little bit of water to, and I just keep adding the paint and swirling it around until I'm happy with how it looks. I love how with a mixed media background you can just build on that colour by adding layer upon layer of colour, waiting for it to dry and then adding more on top until you're happy with how it looks. Once I'm happy, I come in with my white acrylic paint, which I dilute with a little bit of water, and I use this to make some white splatters all across the background. Now I want the splatters to be really subtle, so I do mop them up with some toilet paper, just so that there's just a really subtle hint of white in the background, which you can see there once I've gone over them. Now I'm not quite done with my background yet. I want to add a little bit of extra texture using this awesome stencil from Bramble Fox. This is Fox Cut number 6, and I'm going to be using a little bit of iridescent texture paste just to go over those little crosses, and I really do choose my placement quite randomly. I'm going to be putting some sun rays over them, and I want these lovely little marks to be peeking out from behind the sun rays. Now to get started with those sun rays. Now I'd love to say that I've got a very organized system of how I create these sun rays, however I don't. I make a line across the bottom because I'm only going to be using a portion of the page, and then I do mark where the center is, and then I make my central sunbeam, and then I just really eyeball it from then on and make sun rays going off each side of that central beam. Now I have a lot more lines than I end up using because I make some of the sun rays and then realize actually I want them to be thicker, so you'll see there I've just added an extra little line there to make that second to last ray a bit bigger than I'd originally planned. I do make the sun rays bigger than the pieces that are not sun rays, if that makes sense. So there's a sun ray, and you'll see the little gap between the two sun rays is narrower than the actual sun ray, and that's because I'm going to be folding those sun rays, and by having those folded and the edges lifting up, it's going to make them look a little bit narrower. So I'd like them to be broader to start with, so that once they fold it up a little bit, they don't look too skinny. I'm also working on the reverse of the patterned paper as well, because I want my pencil lines to be hidden so I don't have to rub them out afterwards. So now I've turned them over, and I'm just going to be folding all of those in half, so there you can see how I want them to look once they're done. So the edges of each of those sun rays will be slightly lifted just to give those sunbeams a bit of extra dimension, and to add some extra texture I'm ruffling up those edges using the edges of my scissors. Now to place them all on that beautiful bright blue background. So I'm going to be putting a strip of adhesive down the center of each of those rays, and then starting with the corner pieces, sticking those down, and then I'm working my way through each of those little rays in turn until they're all stuck down. I'm loving how bright and sunny this is looking. The contrast between the yellow and the bright blue sky is just beautiful and makes my eye very, very happy when I look at it. Now I've got this light yellow thread and I've just added a row of machine stitching through the center of each of those rays just for even more texture, and I'm lifting up those edges to add 3D effect. Now this wave patterned paper from the Sun-Kissed collection by Simple Stories is perfect for the bottom part of my layout, so I'm just cutting along those waves and distressing the edges, and I do a few strips like this so that I can layer them on top of each other. And I love how this gives a lot of 3D effect and just makes me think of the beautiful clear blue sea that we saw while we were away on holiday. Now I'm using my silicone glue just so that I've got a bit of control in how much height those waves have. I'm sticking the bottom edge of those waves down flat, but making sure that the top is slightly raised, and I'm just going to layer them on top of each other until I've filled the bottom with those waves. Now on this particular day that I'm documenting, the sun was just making the sea sparkle. So I've got this lovely Nuvo glimmer paste and the colour is called Moonstone, and it adds the perfect shimmer to these waves and is really reflective of how the ocean looked on that day. And here you can see all that beautiful shimmer and sparkle. Now it's time to get my photos and embellishments stuck down. So I've layered my 3 photos side by side. They're all a little bit different, and I'm trying to decide on a title piece. I first of all thought the sunshine and blue skies would work well, however the yellow did just blend in a little bit too much with the yellow sun rays. So instead I opted for the beautiful Aqua Summer Adventures title piece, which stood out beautifully against the background. And then I also used the little Bramble Fox banner that says Together, which made my title say Summer Adventures Together. Now I've also added some lovely florals all around the photos. The Simple Stories Sun-Kissed collection has a lovely sheet of pattern paper which has lots of beautiful little tiny florals. You can see some are fussy cut there on the left. And what I did is I used my Posca pens to just recreate some of those florals in a slightly larger scale, and I've dotted those around my photos. I end up creating 3 clusters of florals around my photos, along with some little word pieces, and this is my journaling, which I'm just going to be tucking in to the left side of all of my photos, in there with the photos, and I think that balances it out quite nicely. Now, as with all my layouts, I put everything on the page and then I take it all off so that I can back my photos and add more bits and pieces. So I've just flipped through that paper pad there to find the right colour to back my photos, and I've settled on this light aqua patterned paper, which is really lovely and subtle for the background of those photos and doesn't really conflict with any of the colours in the background. It just gives a lovely subtle border to each of those photos and complements the page nicely. Now I'm adding some craft foam behind each of those photos just so that they can be slightly raised up. I have a bit of a problem with all my adhesives. I run out of all my tape runners, so I come in with my wet glue just so that I can get those stuck down. Now to stick down my title perspectives, I'm using some Nuvo Deluxe glue as well as my clear silicone using a pointy nozzle, and I'm using the silicone today because my background has a bit of dimension to it and my photos are raised, so I need that acrylic piece to be sitting higher than the background, so that silicone glue just helps give it a little bit of height. And I'm going to continue using my silicone glue just to stick all my embellishments down. I do love how it gives me the ability to manipulate the positioning of each of those pieces, and it allows me just to smush them down into the background, and the glue kind of fills in all the gaps so that they're sitting at the right level. there's a lovely little Bramble Fox camera perspective that I keep trying to move about the page to find a perfect spot for. Now it doesn't end up making it to the final layout, but these sweet little Bramble Fox seagulls do, and they are just the perfect finishing touch for that sky. So I try a variety of different ones in various positions, but I end up with 2 little seagulls in the end, one on either side of the layout, and that just finishes off the sky perfectly. Now I just felt like those florals needed a little bit of something extra, and I do love a little bit of sparkle, so I've added some Stickles iridescent glitter glue just to finish off those florals. I had originally wanted to use some glossy accents, however my bottle of glossy accents is hidden somewhere in my craft room, so I had to resort to something else instead, but I'm so glad that I did because I love the extra shimmer. And last but definitely not least, I've got these cute little heart perspectives from Bramble Fox, which I'm just dotting about the page just to give it that finishing touch. And here is a close-up look at all that lovely colour, texture and dimension. I love that Bramble Fox stencil that I've used in the background just to add a little bit of extra detail, and all those beautiful perspectives side by side with those lovely colourful florals. I've linked up all the Bramble Fox products that I've used in the description box for you below, and I have absolutely loved being guest designer for Bramble Fox this month. I hope something you've seen today inspires you to be creative and to document some lovely memories too. Thanks for watching. Bye!